All right, I get done Yom Kippur. I get done a video game event that I'm going to talk about next week. I don't have B-roll yet. I was going to do it tonight, but I don't have B-roll yet, so I want to stop and do it right and give you guys full coverage. Next week, the game's not out for a bit, so I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to talk about it. I don't think there was an embargo in the email, but I'm going to be careful about it. Moving on. I checked my phone on the way back to read the news, and I see this! And the first thing I think of is A2 Trump. And the second thing I think of is I'm really not surprised. But this is quite the story. I'm not going to fixate on the sordid details because the challenge now, and the reason I wanted to address this right away, is that these situations are extremely emotional in an already charged environment. So let's just look at this logically and stick to the facts, okay? Because this is another, I've been talking about this a lot. Listen and believe doesn't work. Trust but verify should be the standard. And this is a classic example because we can't look at this story of two women 30 years apart saying that Donald Trump molested them to various degrees of severity on its own. We can't just go, well, oh, I believe them, because we don't have enough information. I mean, I think benefit of the doubt is really good. Right? Like, let's not look for reasons to not believe them, but let's not just condemn someone based on an accusation, innocent until proven guilty. 30-year-old accusations are tricky, no matter who makes them, no matter who is accused, but we don't even have to address whether or not we believe these women. The only thing that really matters right now is the hypocrisy of the Donald Trump campaign. Now, some background on this story. Apparently, these two women came forward after one of Anderson Cooper's better moments when he pressed Donald Trump to say, so you deny you ever actually, groped women. And Trump said he didn't do it. And that was a good bit of journalism on Anderson Cooper's part, because what it does, when you have an interview subject right in front of you, you establish that baseline. It's not necessarily your job to disprove them right then and there. Your first job is to get them on the record, unequivocally saying, no, I did not do this. So that is their side. Then women start to come forward because, people have basically, the narrative is to hell you didn't. And like I said, you can't condemn a guy. You can't shun him and send him into the wilderness based simply on an accusation. However, what we can do is look at Trump's standard for Bill and Hillary Clinton, which is 30-year-old bad acts are relevant to the campaign, and that an accusation is enough. Those are the two things that he put forward in trotting out Paula Jones, Juanita Broderick, and a couple other accusers. I'm blanking on the names right now. I have an article for one of them, but I'd rather, was it Kathleen Wiley? But I'd rather not get it wrong. But that was Trump's standard for insisting that Hillary Clinton attacked innocent women. That was his standard. Well, now he is having the exact same thing happen to him. He is being accused of attacking women. And so if we apply the same standard, he's screwed. Pardon the pun. If we apply the same standard, he's essentially guilty. He's tried and convicted in the court of public opinion. Now, I'm not saying he should be. I'm saying a credible accusation is not the same as proof. And it's very important because a credible accusation is enough if your friend is confiding in you, trying to make you understand why they don't want to be seated next to someone at a party. But in terms of lack of fitness for office or criminal charges, it's preponderance of evidence for a civil conviction, or a civil judgment against you. And Donald Trump knows a lot about those sort of financial judgments against him. There've been like 8 or 9 over the years. And it's that strange just because he's all about Clinton should be in jail because of white collar crime when he's committed a ton of it. And he actually got convicted. The only thing he has against Bill Clinton is that $850,000 settlement with Paula Jones, which admitted no wrongdoing. Now, if we stack up all the no admissions of wrongdoing settlements that Donald Trump has over the years, the apples to apples comparisons get very, very interesting. Instead of these apples to orange comparisons of, well, I said this, but the Clintons did this. No. Now we have apples to apples. But this gets even more interesting because this even made the CBC website, which is Canadian, and you'll say Trump's campaign says the women's claims are fiction. But listen and believe. But Hillary Clinton's a false feminist for saying that you believe them until they're disproven with evidence. What? What's going on? Here's the full statement right here. This is when things get hilariously ironic. This entire article is fiction, and for the New York Times to launch a completely false, coordinated character assassination against Mr. Trump on a topic like this is dangerous, because lining up for women and holding a press conference right before a debate is apparently not coordinated character assassination. To reach back decades in an attempt to smear Mr. Trump trivializes sexual assault. Juanita Broaddrick's claims are from 1978 and were only discovered in 1999, and it sets a new low for where the media is willing to go in its efforts to determine this election. But didn't he do the exact same thing right before the debate? I mean, the claims against Clinton are less substantiated than the claims against him. No one is saying Hillary Clinton did anything overtly menacing. We're supposed to believe that a wife losing her mind about her husband cheating is some immoral act, and then a handshake and a thank you is supposed to be inherently menacing. This is what we're expected to believe from the Trump campaign. And people have, and that is fine. I'm just saying you can't rewrite another standard now that the worm is turned. It is absurd to think that one of the most recognizable business leaders on the planet, with a strong record of empowering women in his companies, would do the things alleged in this story. What does one thing have to do with another? That is the great man theory, which is the same thing the Clintons tried, and he got impeached. Bill Clinton there were impeachment proceedings. He had his law license suspended. This doesn't work. This argument doesn't work. Where is it? And for this to only become public decades later in the final month of a campaign for president should say it all. Again, Juanita Broaddrick's claims did not come up until 1999 when there was a special prosecutor, Kenneth Starr, appointed to basically discredit the Clinton presidency, to try to push for impeachment. It was just as political. Further, the Times story buries the pro-Clinton financial and social media activity on behalf of Hillary Clinton's candidacy, reinforcing that this truly is nothing more than a political attack. This is a sad day for the Times. And this is Jason Miller, the senior communications advisor for the Trump campaign. Now, this last statement is just patently false. CNN has, because they're pretty sensitive to the Trump campaign's accusations that they don't cover Clinton, they did hourly coverage today of the Clinton email stuff. They were reaching to try to find something to talk about in that email thing. And the best they could really come up with of, it's just dirty politics as usual. Or, you know, there was some stuff. The thing about, again, that email thing is that very little of those emails are Hillary Clinton's own words. And that's what makes it difficult to determine as newsworthy. It's interesting to see the inner workings of the campaign. It's interesting to see them repress anything even remotely human about Hillary Clinton, but there's no gotcha so far. And the fact that WikiLeaks created a Kindle version of these particular documents indicates that this was pre-planned. They did not just sort the emails to remove any potential classified or dangerous information and release them. There was a lead up to this. This was released for maximum impact. And so nothing more than a political attack? Well, A2, Trump. But there's more. There is more. There are now reports coming out that the women who showed up supposedly just to tell the truth about the Clintons were financially compensated for their appearances. The woman that, you see, Trump ally, paid sexual assault victim critical of Clinton. Kathy Shelton is the woman that was raped when she was 12 years old, and Hillary Clinton was forced by a judge. This is too big. Let me shrink this. Was forced by a judge to defend a case she didn't want to defend. And so basically, she was the fourth woman. So there was one woman who was sexually assaulted, but she was not sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton was doing her job in this case. And this is really not fair, but nothing in politics is really fair. But Roger Stone apparently has been paying off these women. He sought to raise money to pay off the mortgage of Kathleen Wiley, who was another one of the women. Is it Wiley or Wiley? And paid for the trip of Juanita Broderick and Kathy Shelton. And so the trips being paid, I'm less concerned about. What I find interesting is that Broderick herself claims that Breitbart paid for her trip. You see the tweet here that Breitbart paid for her flight out here. Juanita Broderick is not the most reliable source for things. She changes her stories a lot. And I'm not talking just about a sexual assault, because I know women lie because they're ashamed. I know that, but it's as simple as whether she thinks Hillary Clinton was deliberately trying to menace her. In one statement, she'll say, I think she did. The next, I hope she didn't. It goes back and forth. But the fact that they've been also paid straight up $2,500 to Kathy Shelton. This is not just doing it for, altruistic reasons. There's a financial incentive to show up. And what it's come down to is it's already beginning. The day before the debate, Saturday and Sunday on CNN, Trump surrogates went on CNN, and Jeffrey Lord, who this article is about, was leading the charge, and they weren't saying alleged assaults, alleged rape. They were flat out saying Bill Clinton is a rapist. And that was a bold move, considering we knew even then that Ivana Trump had accused Donald Trump in a court case, in a court deposition, in their divorce hearing. So it was the opposite of Juanita Broderick, who said that nothing happened in an affidavit, said something happened in the media. Now, lying to the media is not a crime. Lying in a sworn deposition is. That's what got Bill Clinton caught. Bill Clinton did not, the whole thing with Bill Clinton, the whole impeachment attempts and everything like that were not because he had sex in the Oval Office. The reason he had the impeachment proceedings is because he lied under oath about having sex in the Oval Office. And that's an important distinction, because Jeffrey Lord, who is Washington's worst bagman, he's just, there are some people who are not pundits, they are hatchet men. And Lord seems to live to go on television and call other people terrible things. The Democratic Party is racist. Bill Clinton is a rapist. He seems to live to do this stuff. But, of course, he brings up Juanita Broderick in these Trump accusers, and Anderson Cooper finally said, you know, why do you believe Juanita Broderick and not these two women? And he didn't have an answer. And so, no matter how, I'll put the campaign statement up because that's more appropriate, but no matter how you slice it, folks, Trump's in trouble here. And like I said, we don't have to prove these accusations. The accusations themselves from these women who went to the New York Times are not the significant thing here. The significant thing is that the instant response from the Trump campaign is almost identical to the response that the Clintons did when it happened to them. These are just standard responses. Deny, deny, deny. This isn't politics. This isn't associating with your... Sorry, this is politics. This isn't associating with your friends. It's a dirty game. It's whatever you can get away with. And that doesn't make it right. But Trump now has no real moral high ground to attack the Clintons from on Bill Clinton's infidelities and the alleged, worse than infidelities and the alleged cover-up that Hillary Clinton apparently participated in by shaking people's hands and saying mean names about people. This is serious. This is serious. This is a caught red-handed case of hypocrisy. And you don't need to assume anything. And you don't need to believe anything that isn't verifiable to get to that result. Like I said, it isn't whether or not Trump did something 30 years ago and then again in 2005. We're never going to know that for certain. It's the fact that Trump Tower right now is the world's biggest, most expensive glass house, and he just got caught throwing stones. So I hope the conscientious Trump supporters and the conscientious Clinton haters think long and hard about this and go back and now think about how do I put this? The credibility of the people relitigating this scandal from the 1990s. And again, Trump is now saying it was 30 years ago. It's an attempted smear. He reached back even farther with the Clintons. It was 1978, Juanita Broderick. So I'm just asking you to think about this, and I'm asking you to make sure that the information you're making your decisions based on is credible. And I'll tell you why. This has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. This has nothing really to do with Donald Trump. This has nothing to do with politics. I'm tired of seeing good people led down the garden path by Oppo research. I'm tired of watching the manipulations in the media engulf people who mean very well. And I'm tired of having these really unpleasant discussions where I'm trying not to shut someone down, but I'm trying to discuss logic with somebody who has been so primed with emotion that they're not in a place to hear it. And please, guys, I know it's hard. I know everybody's sick of this election. Nobody's happy about this election, but this is why it's called civic duty and civic responsibility, not civic fun or a civic party. Voting is a responsibility, and voting is often a difficult choice. I mean, I know when it was the few elections that people were attempting strategic voting, when it was Stéphane Dion and Michael Ignatieff, both of them were not exactly, they were like, Michael Ignatieff was Al Gore. Actually, both of them were different combinations of Al Gore and Mitt Romney having an illegitimate child. They were hardly the most dynamic, inspirational candidates. And so there was this difficulty up here where we had the argument of, do you vote strategically or do you vote your conscience? And the general thought was, vote strategically if you're in a riding that matters, vote your conscience if you don't. It didn't work. It didn't work. Harper still won because the vote was split. It took Justin Trudeau, who people were actually voting for, and I know he's got some haters. I've caught an earful from them. And as an aside to that, be very careful when you're criticizing someone's head of state that you don't criticize us Canadians for electing him, because people cross that line. And y'all got real mad about the deplorables thing. Don't do it to other people. But what we learned from that is the anything but Harper vote strategy didn't work. It was still split enough that he managed to pick up enough seats in the House of Commons to become the Prime Minister again. And only a minority of the country voted for him. He won with only 30-something% support. But because of the way our country is divided between the Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, the Bloc Québécois, the Green Party, and then a bunch of splinters, while you can win without a majority, you can win a majority of seats with only 30 or 40% of the vote. And so I want to be clear, if you really want to vote for Gary Johnson, vote for Gary Johnson. If you really want to vote for Jill Stein, vote for Jill Stein. Just don't vote for a candidate because they're not two other candidates. Vote for them because you actually think they're the best choice. There is something positive you can say about them, because I want you to keep in mind that Johnson and Stein have not been subjected to the same extreme vetting that Trump and Clinton have. So while they may appear better, they've got some stuff. Stein especially has got some stuff that she has said that, you know, we don't hear a lot about, you know, praising anti-vaxxers and other things, a warrant being out for her arrest. Now, it was about a protest, but if you're going to apply the anybody else would be in jail, well, anybody else who had a warrant out for their arrest on the protest wouldn't just be able to skip it and be a public person. And I mean, Johnson's grasp of foreign policy is dreadful. It's dreadful. It's not that the Aleppo thing was a gaffe. He knows what Aleppo is. He just brain fart. There are other elements of Johnson that I think would get a closer look had the media not really, and I gotta give the media credit. They have given him a lot of airtime for somebody who hovers around 9 or 10% support. You know, Jill Stein has gotten some airtime as well. I think the Libertarian Party will grow. I think it will, because it went from like what, 1 or 2% a few years ago, and it's going to be up at 8 or 9 unless the support craters because people are voting against Trump. But I think that's good. I mean, this is where our NDP came from, our New Democratic Party. They're left of center. They are our left-wing party. We have a center-left party and a left-wing party. And we used to have a center-right party and a right-wing party, but the Reform Party and the Progressive Conservative Party merged into one party. But you know, this is how the NDP grew. It was slow, and it was a build. And eventually they got up to, you know, a consistent 17-18% support. And then they were in the debates, and so our rule for the debates is kind of wishy-washy. Some debates say you have to have at least 1 seat in the House of Commons. Others say you need a certain level of support. So our Gary Johnson in that regard is Elizabeth May. And she's excluded from a lot of debates, and it's frustrating because she does contribute. So I don't want anybody to feel like I'm saying just vote for Clinton because she's the lesser of evils. No. If you truly believe, even hypothetically, that, you know, Gary Johnson or Jill Stein would be a better candidate, don't vote for somebody else just because you think, you know, this whole thing of a vote for anybody but Hillary Clinton is half a vote for Trump. That's politics, and I get why they're saying it. It's strong rhetoric, but the reality is it's not. It's a vote for Gary Johnson, and it's a vote for Jill Stein. That is a legitimate vote, and I would much rather, to my American friends, that you went and voted for a third party, or you returned your ballot, or you just went in and voted in down ballot races, than if you decide I'm just not going to vote. Please vote. Please. It's incredibly important in reasons I can't really get into because I've been talking for a half an hour and that's my cutoff. But you're not going to get any vote shaming from me. Okay? Vote your conscience. But please, don't let the news do your thinking for you. Look into what these candidates' policies are. Look into what they're really saying. And vote based on logic and based on who you think has the best plan for the country, not the person you would, you know, want to watch your kids or want to hang out with. They're not applying for that job. They're applying for dealing with the war in Syria and dealing with Russia and dealing with Iran and all these things. And anybody who's in that world is going to have things like a private position and a public position. And I hate the way this has been treated in the media because they are letting public opinion drive their coverage instead of using their coverage to inform public opinion. This election, I wish I could write a book about, you know, looking down on America. That would be the name, looking down on the American election, because I'm not in it, so I have an emotional attachment to it, and the dereliction of duty in the media has been something to behold, I'll tell you. So hopefully I've explained my position, because I feel the need to explain my position all the time now on this, so I don't get, you're just in favor of Clinton. No. I'm in favor of facts. I'm in favor of people not being manipulated. And that is what I see a lot of. I don't want to sit back and see people be manipulated. So that's my video. I'm not even going to put a title or anything like that, and I'm just going to put it up because it's really late and I'm cramming this in. But yay, content. I'm responsible. Woohoo!